podcast right now.
Ah,
Yeah.
cool.
So the live stream should begin in Numa soon. Uh, at which point I would need to mute this.
Oh, mute the Google Hangout?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me when?
I muted. It's already set up, so we can just get going.
Oh,
In the Numa, I'm already muted, so we're good to go.
okay. So what I did do was I got like all my quizzes from before and things that I guess I was questioning about because like I don't want to go into my final and then like even though they're simple or they seem simple, just to make sure that I'm clear so that way I don't like think that I know something when I really don't. So I grabbed like some questions and I put them together that were on like some of the quizzes prior.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way you can go through them with me. There's only like 3 or 4 of them. And I think that on 2 of them I had gotten them wrong. And I just think it's because I like one of them, let me just show it to you. Sorry, it took me a minute to kind of get this together.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, untitled. Here we go. Okay, can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so let me just make sure that I can see you. So on the first one, it says that n equals 10,000, count equals 0, while n count equals count plus 1. And then what I like when I look at the problem, I'm thinking, okay, it's asking me, to divide 10,000 by the 10. So originally I had put 1,000. Can you see me? Or no?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I had originally gotten that one wrong when the answer is actually 5. So then I was like, okay, is it just asking me, is the like the computation asking what is divisible by both, which would be 5? Because when I look at the problem, go ahead.
What the question is, so let's go through the code here.
Okay.
We set n equal to 10,000
Mm-hmm.
on the first line. The second line, we set count equals 0.
Yes.
Now we say while n, so pretty much while n is not equal to 0, right? Because anything other than 0 is going to be true. If you use it as a conditional, it's going to evaluate to true as long as it's anything other than 0, right? So pretty much while n is not 0, we're going to do what's inside this loop here, which is add 1 to count and then divide n by 10.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Oh, wait, where are you? Where'd you go? Hold on, sorry. Oh, there you are. Okay, so wait, it's because... Are you moving the window up and down, or is that me?
I'm not moving the window.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then as long as the conditional, basically as long as the conditional is equal to 0, is that what you're saying?
As long as the conditional is not equal to 0.
Oh, not equal to 0. Okay. And then the plus 1, I was assuming that was incrementing, though.
It is
actually adding.
It is incrementing.
Okay.
So look at the end, we print out counts, right?
Yes.
So it's asking what will be output. What will be output is whatever counts is at the end.
Okay.
And count is however many times we can divide n by 10 and get away with it, pretty much. This double slash, I'm looking it up here. It says it means integer. It means integer division, which means you divide but you round to the nearest integer.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so then that's how they got 5. Because I kept, like, I got 1,000 because I just divided. Okay.
Yeah, so no, think about the while statement. The while statement is what's most important. Like you're adding 1 to count while n is still here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you say we start at 10,000, you add 1, so now count is 1. You divide by 1,000. So you divide by 10, you get 1,000. So now
Mm-hmm.
n is 1,000. You add 1 to count, you have 2. You divide by 10, you get 100. Do it again. Add 3. Divide by 10, you get 10. Do it again. Add 4, or add 1, you get 4. Divide by 10, you get 1. So then you do it again. You add 1, you get 5. You divide 1 by 10, and that's 0, right? If you're rounding to the nearest integer. So now you exit the while loop because n is now 0. So this said while n is not 0. So now that n is 0, you come out of it. Count was equal to 5 the last time anything was done to it. So when we print count, it's going to be 5.
Okay.
Right, so count is just counting how many times we could divide by 10.
Okay. Perfect. And then my next one, wait, let me just scroll down so you can see it.
What output will the following?
Yeah, the second one. Wait. Yeah, what output will the following code produce? And then this one I think I got right. Hold on. Yeah, my list equals. So like I know that they're in different like segments, and so it says A equals 0, B equals 0, total equals 0 because that's like what we begin with, and then right.
Right.
Everything at 0.
You set those 3 variables to 0, and enter into this while loop. So while A is less than or equal to 2, and while B is less than 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so while both of those things are true, you're going through this loop here. Total plus equals minus AB, add 1 to B, add 1 to A.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So but the A and the B, you're basically just adding A and B, basically this section and this section.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. So my list, that's a list that you wrote up here.
Right.
My list is bracket 241 bracket 1 2 3 bracket 2 3 5 bracket, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now let's look at what is my list AB. My list AB says my list, the index A, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so you see how there are 3 lists within this list, right?
Yes.
It's a list of lists. So for instance, if I want to access my list 0 0, let's say A equals 0, B equals 0. Mm-hmm. So my list AB is my list 0 0. So my list 0, this first 0 tells me to go to the first index of the list, right? Because everything is 0 indexed in Python. So so this first one is the 0 index, second one is the first index, third one is the second index, and et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm accessing the 0 index, that means I'm accessing this entry right here, 241, right? So if A is 0, then I'm looking at this list 241 here. And then if B is 0, then that means I'm looking at the first entry within that list, within that first list that I found. So if B is 0, then I'm looking at 2. So my list 0 0 would be equal to 2, right? Because it's the first list and the first entry in that first list.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now it goes, then you add 1 to A, 1 to B, and then it wants you to do it again. So now A is 1, B is 1. You're looking at my list 1, 1. So that's the first, or that's the entry that's in the first indices, which is the 1, 2, 3, right? The first is that's actually the second entry, and then it's asking for the second entry within that entry, right? So 1, 1 would be asking for 2 here. And then so you add that to the total, and then you do that again. So now you're adding. So what did it say the answer was for this one?
Where am I? I believe it was 14.
Is there like a answer key for that?
No, it was just exactly what's on there.
Let's see. My A equals 0, B equals 0, total equals 0, while A is less than or equals to 2, while B is less than 2. So only doing this while oh wait.
Cause see, I thought it was A equals 0, meaning the individual like sections in the brackets, and then I thought that while A is less than or equal to 2, right? And while B is less than 2, then you add both A and B totals to equal the total of those two sections.
No, you're not adding them. You're simply accessing the entry in the list, right? So if I say my list 3, that means give me the third element or the third index element in the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
My list 10, that means give me the 10th index element in the list. So that's all that's
all it's saying.
We're here. Okay, so let's continue to go through this. You said it's 14. Okay.
I think that's what it says on here.
So far we've added 2 to B equals 2, A equals 2. So we go up to A less than or equal to 2, which it is, but B is not strictly less than 2. So we exit this. We set B equal to 0. So now A is 2, B is equal to 0. Then, okay, so 2, 0 is only 2. So then you have 6, add 1 to B, add 1 to A. A is now greater than 2. So, I'm not sure how they got their answer. That's why I want to see if there's any work that they did to show
how they got it. No, this is just off the quiz.
You said it was 14?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what
it says correct on there. I don't know if, but that's how come I wanted to go through them with you, because I wanted to make sure that I was understanding.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, here's what we can do. Just code this. Copy this.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can also do it, but just copy it, save it as a Pi file, and then run it and see what it gets. The problem is the the tabs aren't wrong. The indenting is off, so it's hard to say. Like, could you scroll up to the other question?
Which one? Okay, hold on. Let me just go back to my idle. I mean my let's see. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Wait, where's my document? Oh, here. That one?
Yeah. So okay. So this has indenting that makes sense. While and indent. Okay. So here I'm not sure if the indenting actually. Okay, so I'm gonna follow the indenting as literally as possible. Um, let's see here. So while A is less than, so all this stuff total plus equals my list, B plus one plus equals one, A plus equals one.
Yes.
None of that is under the while B less than two. None of that is under the while B less than two condition. So I'm wondering if that even needs, if we even need to evaluate that before we, like as we go through this loop. So yeah, I'll just copy this into Python exactly as it is and see what happens.
I just want to make sure I can see what you're doing because I go back to my window and like usually when you're like explaining stuff to me, I can see where you're pointing and right now I can't see where you're pointing.
Oh, yeah, that's because I haven't shared my screen with you, but
Oh, okay.
let's see here. Let me do this. Let me just type up this.
I'm glad that I brought this up because these were the things like the little things that I'm like, okay, well, I get the concept or I understand like when you're explaining it to me, but then when I actually work the problem, like I just want to make sure I'm understanding completely, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Pictures are on videos. Examples of desktop. I'm trying to open. I thought I had a folder saved with the stuff that we are working on. Let me see if I can find it. Um, okay. Do need to. All right. So let me make a new directory. Make directory. Here, let me share this screen with you. Now you can see what I'm doing in my terminal. Wait. Okay, so I'm in teaching. I made a folder called teaching. I'm gonna make a folder called it's called Priscilla. Oh, okay. So I need to say make directory Priscilla. I don't know if this is gonna work because there's a comma. Oh no. Okay, so now I'm going to try and make this. I'm going to write this code mylist.py. Let's see, what does it say? Mylist. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 5. A equals 0. B equals 0. Total equals 0. While A less than, I'm literally going to write everything exactly as they do.
Okay.
What the heck? Why is my tab so far? All right, while B less than 2. Total plus equals
My list.
minus AB.
Mm-hmm.
No.
A, yeah.
B plus equals 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Oh, what did I do? Okay. No.
B
Plus.
B
All right.
plus equals 1. And then A plus equals 1. And then B equals 0.
B equals 0 is out here.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of it.
And then print total.
And then it wants you to print the total. Okay, let's try it. Indentation error. Okay, dang it. Okay. Yeah, see, it won't even take that as it won't even allow you to do it because it's not indented correctly.
That's weird.
So that's okay. So let's say I indent this the way that would be normal,
Mm-hmm.
which is to have 2 indentations for the for the 2 while loops, right? They should be indented in both.
Okay.
So let's see what happens when I do that. Wow, this is taking a long time to run. Is it just hung up? No, it would. What is going on? Yeah, so for some reason, program did not execute to completion. Let me try again. In the meantime, let me look at this code again because I don't even know what numbers here would add up to 21. I mean, would add up to 14.
Yeah.
Are we adding multiple numbers? Are we adding multiple?
I don't know. You know what? This quiz I took maybe 3 weeks ago, I think, or 3 weeks ago. So I don't remember if I just guessed on it, or I don't remember if I actually understood it, So I think I just accidentally got it correct.
Yeah, so it definitely wants you to count through the indices somehow. Okay. So yeah, when you use that my list AB, okay, so here's something we can do.
Okay.
I don't know why this is not printing anything out. Let's try to change that. So every time we adjust the total, let's print it.
Okay.
Just to see what it's going to be. Let's see what happens there. Okay, so we printed 2, we printed 4, and then something is happening where it doesn't want to print the rest of it.
Okay.
Okay, so our initial idea here, I think, worked. So we the first number we accessed was 2, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's my list 0, 0. The next number we access is also 2 because that's my list 1, 1. And then the next we access should be 5 because that's my list 2, 2. But okay, so actually at that point B is greater than 2. So if we're taking this literally,
Mm-hmm.
B when we add, so let's say we're at B, A and B equals 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
We add 1 to B, so B becomes 2. We add 1 to A becomes 2. Now uh, now A is equal to 2, so that means it's less than or equal to 2, right? 2 is equal to 2, so it's less than or equal to 2. So that condition is satisfied. We go into the next block, which is while B is less than 2. B is equal to 2 here, so B is not less than 2. So since B is not less than 2, we shouldn't wind up even doing any of this.
Right.
Because B is not less than 2. So we should exit. And then it says B less equals 0, which I don't even know how that affects anything because B less equals 0 is outside of the while loop. I think it would probably use our time better if we went on to a different question. I don't think this question is written properly.
Okay.
And it'll be harder to explain why I don't think it's written properly. I mean, you can tell from the fact that the code is hanging up that this is a strange situation, right? We have A less than or equal to 2, but for some reason B is strictly less than 2. And then at the end we set B equal to 0, even though that has no effect on the rest of the code, right? Like when we print the total was already calculated before we set B equal to 0. So setting B equal to 0 here is completely superfluous. So that's why this particular question seems strange to me. We can try to come back to it, but I could probably help you more on a different question.
Okay, let's see here. I think that was it though. Let me just see here. Is there anything like that you wanted to work with me that you feel like I need more help on, at least prior to the final? Because like I just want to make sure that I'm understanding, or if there's anything that you feel that I need help with, like especially with the flow. I think like if there's a problem that you could help me out with, like, just to help me with flow, because I think that that's like my downfall is like putting it into the flow.
Yeah, so what is the test going to ask you? Is it just going to ask you questions like this, or are you going to have to code as well?
I think there may be a code, but I think that right now like it's like fundamental. So I think that a lot of it has to do with vocab. It has to do like with this type of stuff, like the output. What would the output be on particular problems?
Exactly.
So because I've noticed that a lot of the quizzes pertain to just the computation itself and what do you think that the output would be, and then it's just basically select which one is the best, which one is the answer. And I think that that's how the final is going to be, because all of our quizzes that I looked at, I mean, I looked from first week that we started, and they are all like that. So I don't know if there's going to be an actual coding assignment, but there may be, but it's going to be probably just like an easier one, because we covered mostly all computations and the vocabulary, which is what I've been studying. Yeah. But I think that like this problem right here that I accidentally got correct just because I guessed on it because I wasn't sure. But now I realize that maybe the reason that I was having a problem with that one is because I didn't, I kind of, was thinking like, okay, well, am I adding everything? Am I doing it correctly? Or what is it asking me to do? But you know, at this point, I think that you were confused too. So I don't feel so bad anymore because I didn't really understand the flow. So if you could help me with that, just so that way I know that I'm understanding the flow. So if you have a problem, you know, that you can like, you know, walk me through it, then that would be great too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I understand what this question is asking, right? So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, the way that you worded it, like I understand, you know?
so if you
When I
want to know
look
what
at
the
it though, it's
question,
a different problem.
if you want to know what the question is asking, right? Like for
Yeah.
instance, this one says, "What output will the following code produce?" Look at the last line. Look at the line where something is being produced, right? It says, "What will the code produce?" So look at where the code is actually outputting something. That usually is going to happen at the end. Like for this question, it says print total, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the output is going to be the total at the end, correct? So that means we want to find where where total is in our um, in our code. Where is total defined in our code? Since that's the output we're interested in, right?
Right.
Total is set equal to, if we scan our code and we look at where total is in the code, we see that total, the first mention of total is when it's set equal to 0.
Right. So
Set
then,
total equal to 0, and then in this while loop, total is being incremented. We see total plus equals, right? So it's being incremented. What is it being incremented by? It's being incremented by my list at A, B, right? So my list at AB means my list. So this is a list of lists, right?
yes.
My list is a list of lists. So my list AB says, look in the list of lists my list. Look at the 8th list in that list of lists, and then look at the bth entry in that list, in that 8th list, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the bth entry in the 8th list, right, of my list. That's what my list AB means.
Did you just say 8th though?
Yeah, like if it were like say it were my list IJ, right? Then it would be the ith list and the jth entry in that list.
Oh,
right?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like if it were my list 1 right? It would be the first list, the first indice list. And remember that everything is 0 indices. So the first indice is actually the second list, right?
The zero, like when you're talking about like 0th, 1th.
Yeah.
2th. Okay.
Yeah, so the first, the indice 1 actually refers to the second list, right? So if this was my list 1, then it would refer to the second list, so that's the list 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the second entry in that list, which would be the number 2.
Okay.
All right, so that's what my list is doing. And then so every time we go through this while loop, we add that number from my list to the total, right? So we started at 0, and then we should add 2, and then we should add 2, and then, you know, whatever happens from there. But basically, you know, we're adding the number that we get from my list to the total.
Okay.
And the total, you know, from the last time is, so like, we go through this first loop, right? Total started at 0, we add 2 to it, so now total equals 2, right? Mm-hmm. When we go through the loop again, let's say we add 2 to total, now total is going to equal 4 because before it equaled 2, and now we're adding 2 to it again, for instance.
Okay.
Right. So that's sort of the flow. We want to find out what's being returned. Here was total. If you scroll up a bit, let's see what was being output in the last question.
Okay. Where's my list? Hold on. Okay, where'd my list go? Ah. Hold on. Wait. Hold on 1 second. I don't know what happened to my list. There we go. Can you see it?
Yeah. So if you scroll up, it says print count, right?
Yes.
So count is what we're looking for. Count is what's going to get printed out. So let's look. When we look in the code, we see the first time that they mention count, they set count equal to 0, and then count appears again in the while loop, right, where we are adding. We're adding 1 to count every time we go through the while loop, and then we're also doing integer dividing n by 10. That double slash means integer division. Are you going to be have any access to a computer, or are you just No,
the test is going to be, yeah, I'm going to be taking it online.
Will you be able to use online resources?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so there are certain things you might have to look up. So let's look at like past quizzes, and then we can go through those as well. Is there any more questions on this page?
No, because I cut. Let's see here. No, that wasn't part of it. So let's see here. No, I think that those were the only ones that I had trouble with. So I didn't put any of the other ones. So the other ones I kind of understood. And then most of it is vocabulary, and then some of them are a little bit like they're more simple problems, like like depth, area, length and width, and length times width, and those type of computations. And those I'm fine with. It's just more when I notice that I get a little bit more confused when there's a while, or basically when there are loops.
Loops, right? So I mean, a loop is just you're doing something, you're doing everything inside the loop until the loop condition is not met anymore, right?
Right.
So in the first one, it was while n. While n just means while not 0, right? So while whatever is in the, so you have while and then you have a condition, right?
Right.
That condition is if it's true, then you keep going. If it's false, you don't keep going. In Python, 0 is considered false, and any other number is considered true, right? So while n means while this number is anything but 0, do what's on the inside, right? Because any number but 0 evaluates to true. So while n looks like while true, Python sees while n, and if n is not 0, then it says while true, right? If it looks at while n, and if n is 0, it says while false, right? While loops will continue while the condition is true and exit if the condition is false. Same thing with for loops, right? So for loops, though, they work different because they'll use what's called an iterator. So it'll be like while I is for I less than 10 I plus plus, something like that. So it'll be like or like for I, or you can say like for like line in file, right? Let's say you open a file and there's some number of lines in it. Then a for loop can just say, okay, for each line in this file, do something, right? So that's what a for loop is doing. A while loop is doing something. So for loop is doing something for every single item that you tell it to. A while loop is doing something as long as a condition is true.
Okay.
And we can like do a very simple example. I don't know. Yeah, this never timed out. So this code is definitely, there's definitely something funky about it. But let's do something else like loop practice. Well, I'll just call this loop practice. And I don't know. List. If I could just call it list, that'll be bad. List equals like banana, orange, apple, and kelp. I don't know why kelp, but let's do it. And then let's say I say 4 fruits in list print, oh my gosh, print fruit, right? So now this is going to go through every fruit in this list. It doesn't matter what I call fruit, right? It's like I could call this item, I could call this F, doesn't matter. It's just assigning a variable to every item in this list iteratively. So first it's gonna assign the word or the variable fruit to banana. Then once it runs this, it's gonna assign the variable fruit to orange. And then it's gonna, so let's make this a little bit more interesting. Let's say for fruit in list, fruits plus equals, and I'm not even sure if this is gonna work, but let's add the string s to it. Now, if this works, when we set fruit equal to banana, this should add s to the end of banana and make it bananas, and then print out bananas, and then apples and oranges and whatever else. So, yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So that's how a for loop works. Rather than working until a condition is not met anymore, it just does something for every item in like a series of items. So you can loop through a list. You can do a for loop through a list. You can do a for loop through a dictionary. You can do a for loop through a file. Anything that can be broken down into a series of smaller objects, you can do a for loop on.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I think I'll be fine. I just hope that like he doesn't have us do like any like super coding, because that's where I really need my resources, because I've been using more of the Stack Overflow that you had me on, not Stack Overflow, the other one, where I just Google the question that I'm looking for and then it automatically takes me to the Python site. That's what I've been working on.
Python site, and then Stack Overflow as well is really helpful.
But I think on Stack Overflow, I think do you need a subscription for Stack Overflow? Because when you try to, it says you need to sign in. I think you can just Python.
You need to sign in if you are writing a question, but usually someone will have already asked the question, and so you're just looking for people's answers to the question, which you don't need to sign in to do.
Okay.
But it's not a bad idea to get a Stack Overflow account anyway, because you might have a question that you can't find an answer to, or you just haven't seen worded in the exact right way that you need it to be. So it might come a time where you actually do have to write your own question on that site, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. And that's pretty much it. If I have any questions before my final, do you think that it's okay that I email you?
Yeah, just shoot me an email. We can hop back on Hangouts if necessary. There's no problem with that. But ask your professor if he or she can work through this problem. I can send you the code that I just wrote.
Okay.
And let's see if I can send that to you in here.
Okay.
I'm just gonna try it.
Okay.
So I think I just sent you a Drive file. I'm not sure.
I got it.
Yeah. So show that. You can run that on your computer. You can show it to your teacher. Ask him or her what did you mean? Was there a typo in the script? Because I wrote it exactly as you did. Well, I wrote it exactly as you did, and there's error. So then I did tabs under the while b less than 2, and it just hung up, most likely because of this strange condition where you have while a is less than or equal to 2. Let me type this out. So I'm just going to refer to this problem as number 2. Is there a problem with number 2, or is there an issue with number 2? Coded as is does not run, or gives an error, gives an indentation error, right? Because as it is says that the lines under while b less than 2, so lines under while b less than 2 are not indexed correctly, or indented correctly, I should say. When we indent these lines, the code hangs up, likely because of the mismatched conditional. So a is less than or equal to 2, but b is strictly less than 2. I should just type that all out. So, yeah, I sent that to the chat. Things that I would clarify with your professor, and then yeah, just email me anything you're going over that you want to look into more deeply. Yeah, sorry about this question. I just think it's funky. And
oh no worries. You explained it fine to where I can understand it. It just that I guess it's just not written properly.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's written properly, but yeah, I tried to go through what you would have done. And yeah, so mainly that in accessing a list at its index, right, is like the most important thing. So like study indices like that. And like for instance, let's say A equals, let's say we have a list, and I'll just call it list. List equals 2, 5, 8, 7, 8, whatever it is. So list 0 is equal to 2. List 1 also is equal to 5. List 2 is equal to 8. List 3 is equal to 7. Right? So this is just going over that 0 index, right? So the list at 0 is the first index, 2. The list at 1 is the second index, 5, and so on and so forth. Can you see what I just sent to you?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can do this. We can probably smarter to just do this in the Python emulator, so that you can see that I'm actually telling the truth here. So if you look at my screen, I'm going to write pi. I have Python abbreviated as pi. So now this takes me into the Python terminal. So like so I can execute Python commands here. So let's say I say list is equal to the same thing I said before, 2, 5, 8, 7. Can you see what I'm typing?
Yes.
Cool. So now I type list 0 is 2, list, even if I type list 2, that should be 8, right?
Right.
List 1, what should list 1 be?
5.
5, right? And then list, what about list 3?
7.
Right. So that's pretty much how accessing indices work. Now let's do like a double. Let's do a double thing. So like let's say list 2 is the first list, but it's also some other stuff. Make another list in here for 3, 6, 9. We'll make another list in here. 0, 7, 2, 1. So now we have a list of 3 lists.
Mm-hmm.
List 2 is not, okay, I did that incorrectly. So list 2 should equal this, of course. So now if I just press, and now if I just enter list 2, it should print out that list. All right, so that's what list 2 looks like. Now if I do list 0, actually let's say 1, 2, what number should that be?
List 1, 2. So the first list is 2, 5, and the second list is 4, 3, 6, 9. And then the indices individually, is that what it's asking me or is it asking me for? That's where I get confused. See, 1 and 2 would be 5 and 6.
No. So first you look at 1, right? So let's see.
It says list 1 and 2. So then it'd be list 1.
It's not list 1 and 2. It's list 1, 2. So list at the, basically you're looking for the ith row and the jth column. So list 1, 2 says look at the first list in this list of lists, right? The first indices list, which is going to be the second list, right? So that's going to be 4, 3, 6, 9, right? Does that make?
Okay, wait. So it's asking me for the second list. So number 2 is the second list, and you want the index?
So no, you want other way around. You want the first index list, right? So the first number you see is the first index you're accessing, right? So think about it like this. This list is in the 0th index. Like if I just typed in list 0, then I should. Okay. Sorry. Not like that, but not list 2, not list 0, but list 2, right? Because this is list 2. List 2, 0. That's just that first list, right? List 2, 1 is just the second list, right? Okay. Now, if I want to do list 2, 1, 2, that's going to be it's the second index in that first index list, right? So what's that going to be?
So list 2, 1 is 4, 3, 6, 9.
Right.
And then the 0, 7, 2, 1, right?
No. So you now look into that list. You said that list 2, 1 is 4, 3, 6, 9, like I have it highlighted, right?
Right.
So now this 2 means to access the second indexed or the second indexed entry in that list 1, right? In that list 1, right? So we're looking for 4, 3, 6, 9, and we want the second indexed number in that list. So it's just going to be the third number, which is 6. Yeah. So if
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So it's telling you where in this list to look. It's not saying return 2 lists. It's only returning 1 index, right? And it's saying where do I find that index? Well, it's the first indices, right? So
Okay.
now let me do another one. Let's say it's 2, 1. Which number should that be?
So it'd be the 0721 list, right?
Yeah.
And then it would be number 7.
Exactly.
Okay. That's where I was getting confused.
Yeah, so that's crucial.
Okay.
This is just accessing a list of lists. So let's say if it were 0, 3, what number should that be?
List 0, but that's in list 2, right? So list 0 is the first one, 2587, but that's list 1. Oh no, you created a new list. So that would be list 2587. And then it would be number 7 in the first list.
Right. Exactly.
Now, so yeah, I mean, it's way clearer because I was confused on, I think I thought that I had it where each little list or segment, I guess, the list, I wasn't properly numbering them. So, okay.
Yeah, so everything is 0. Everything is 0 index. So you start at 0. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and I was just doing the individual indices, the 0, 1, 2, 3, as opposed to each list as well as numbering them the same way.
So there's different levels, right? So I could have a list of lists of lists, and then you just do exactly the same thing. You look at the first, list of lists, and then you look at the list in that list of lists, and then you look at the element in that list. So it just is. This is just telling you the hierarchy to go through, right? It says the first thing is the top hierarchy, and then every next bracket is just the next lower hierarchy.
Perfect. Okay. Now I got it.
Yeah, so I would practice with that a bit, and yeah, anything else you have a question on, just email me, let me know.
Okay. Yeah, most likely I'll be emailing. I'm just gonna work on it today, and then especially like the stuff that we just got, I'm gonna review that.
Yeah.
There were like 2 chapters that we were working on, like on dictionaries and lists and stuff like that. But I'm gonna study that, make sure that I understand it. If there's something that I don't understand, kind of like this one, I thought I understood it when I didn't. So I want to make sure. So I'll be emailing you most likely like tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's always a lot easier when you explain it, because sometimes I think that I have it and then I don't. So, and then that's how I get things wrong.
Yeah, definitely just experiment with the interpreter.
Okay.
Type stuff in there so that you basically verify what you think about problems. And then if something is different from the way that you're thinking about it, then you can ask me. You can look online, but just constantly be testing and experimenting and making sure the way that you're looking at things fits with what happens when you actually write the code.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, have a good day.
You too. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, so take a look at these lists of lists for a second here. It's pretty much how they work out. All right, guys. See you next time.